Stress is not the enemy. It is the whisper of your soul, testing your grip on what you can control and what you must let go. Most people break under pressure not because life is too heavy, but because they never learned how to carry it. There are men who've stood in the storm with nothing, no money, no time, no certainty, yet emerged with a calm that shook the earth. They didn't escape stress. They stared it in the face and became immovable. And that's where we begin, with 3 lines of Stoic thought that didn't just shift my mindset. They rewired my entire response to pressure, panic, and pain. The first came like a sword to the chaos in my head. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. I used to wake up drowning before the day even started. Not because something bad had happened, but because my mind was already playing out every worst-case scenario. The failure, the humiliation, the loss, the regret. And I thought I was being prepared. I thought stress meant I cared. But all it meant was that I was living in a future that didn't exist. Seneca slapped me awake. When he wrote those words, he wasn't offering comfort. He was delivering a challenge. If your fear is imaginary, then so is your suffering. You are not reacting to life, you are reacting to your projections. Imagine a man walking toward a cliff with a blindfold on. He doesn't know how far the edge is, so every step feels like death. That's how most people live, not on the edge, but convinced they're falling when their feet are still on the ground. The Stoic doesn't close his eyes. He opens them. He asks, what's real? What's now? What can I influence today? And that's when the stress begins to lose its power. Because the fire only burns when you feed it. And every imagined disaster you rehearse in your head is fuel to the flame. So I made a choice, a radical one. When my mind started racing ahead, I pulled it back. Not gently, but like a soldier yanking his brother from a minefield. No, I said to myself, we suffer more in imagination. Be here. Fight now. That line didn't remove the pressure. It made me precise. It made me calm. And it taught me that stress is a liar. One that borrows tomorrow's pain to destroy today's peace. The second quote came in a moment of absolute breakdown. Deadlines closing in. People depending on me. Everything moving too fast. And my chest couldn't hold it anymore. I dropped everything and stood in silence. And in that silence, a voice returned. Not mine, but Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Let that hit you. Read it again with your soul. This you have the power to revoke at any moment. Stress isn't caused by the event. It's caused by the meaning you attach to it. 2 people can face the same setback. One collapses. The other transforms. The difference isn't the event. It's the estimation. I used to look at problems as punishments. Now I see them as puzzles. I used to believe pressure was injustice. Now I see it as training. You don't get stronger by being safe. You get stronger by choosing the right frame, even when everything feels wrong. Marcus was telling me the external is neutral. It's your judgment that creates your experience. And you control that. Not the world. Not other people. Not outcomes. Just the frame. So the next time I missed a goal, the next time someone criticized me, the next time life didn't go the way I planned, I didn't fight it. I reframed it. This is training. This is feedback. This is temporary. This is not personal. This is something I can use. And that one shift, that single word, revoke, changed everything. It gave me my power back. Because that's what stress steals first, your sense of control. But Marcus reminded me, you always control your estimate. You don't get to pick the weather, but you get to decide whether it ruins your day. And then came the third quote, the one that took everything I had learned and sealed it with steel. Epictetus, the slave who became free not by chains breaking, but by the mind rising. He said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Those words were simple, but I didn't need complexity. I needed truth. When life knocked on my door with chaos, That quote became my armor. A business deal collapsed? How will I respond? A friend betrayed me? What's my choice now? My plans were ruined? What will I do with that? Because in that split second, I realized something. My power is not in avoiding the storm. It's in deciding how I walk through it. Stoicism is not apathy. It is not letting go in weakness. It is gripping the steering wheel of your soul when the world tries to spin you off the road. And when I started living by that, truly living by that, stress lost its edge. Because stress depends on your belief that you are helpless. But you're not. You are not a puppet of pain. You are not the victim of your feelings. You are the captain of your response. And in that truth, I found peace that couldn't be shaken. So I started training my response like a warrior sharpens his sword. Every moment of stress became a drill. Not an obstacle, but an opportunity to test my discipline. Because that's the hidden lesson of Stoicism. You don't overcome stress by avoiding difficulty. You overcome stress by becoming indifferent to what you can't control. And unbreakable in how you respond. Let me tell you a story. In 1914, Thomas Edison's lab caught fire. Years of invention, blueprints, and dreams were consumed in flames. His life's work, gone overnight. Most men would collapse. Edison watched the fire with a strange calm. And when his son asked if he was okay, Edison said, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." That was his response. And the next day, at 67 years old, he began rebuilding. Not because he didn't feel pain, but because he refused to react like a victim. That's Stoicism in action. Not philosophy in a book, but philosophy in the furnace. And it taught me something even deeper. Stress isn't proof that you're overwhelmed. It's proof that you're being called up to think clearly, act with resolve, and carry weight others would drop. It's not there to break you. It's there to shape you. And once I stopped seeing stress as the enemy, I started welcoming it. When pressure arrived, I whispered, "Good. Another test. Let's see who I am." I didn't beg for relief. I prepared for war within myself. Because the only way to become someone who doesn't fold under fire is to walk straight into the flames without flinching. But to do that, you need something more than quotes. You need a code, a mindset. And so I built one, forged from those 3 Stoic truths. My imagination is not reality. My judgment creates my experience. My reaction determines my power. I repeated them like vows. When the tension rose, I slowed my breath. When doubt crept in, I rewrote the narrative. When chaos hit, I chose how to stand in it. And slowly I became what the Stoics described. Calm in conflict, still in storms, focused in the fog. Not because I was fearless, but because I knew where fear belonged. Not in control, not in command. Just a whisper acknowledged and then dismissed. Because the Stoic does not wait for peace. He brings it with him. Wherever he walks, into meetings, into battle, into heartbreak. He brings the one thing no one can take. Composure. You see, stress is real. But it doesn't have to be yours. It belongs to the world. Let the world keep it. You're building something else. You're building the inner citadel that Epictetus spoke of. A fortress inside the mind that no enemy, no tragedy, no loss can touch. And that's not poetry. That's not fantasy. That is training. That is choice. That is repetition, hour after hour, moment by moment, rewiring the way you respond. So the next time life explodes in your face, remember this. You've already been given the tools. You've already read the words. You already know. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. You can revoke your judgment at any moment. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Those are not quotes. They are weapons. Use them. Don't just memorize them, embody them. Speak them when your heart pounds. Breathe them when the chaos hits. Live them when the world expects you to fall apart. And when you do, when you choose stillness, when you respond with clarity, when you meet stress with presence instead of panic, you don't just survive. You ascend. There is a moment, and you know this moment well, when your hands are shaking, your jaw is tight, and your thoughts scatter like birds under gunfire. That is the battlefield. But it's not outside you. It's inside. That is where the real war is won or lost. Not in the outcomes. Not in the noise. But in the stillness you choose to create when everything else tells you to fall apart. Stress is a test. But the test isn't to eliminate stress. It's to become someone who stands undisturbed. Because if you can't hold your center in a storm, you'll be thrown around by every breeze. Every little delay, every rude comment, every unmet expectation will own you. And that is not strength. That is slavery. The Stoics refused that kind of life. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire, but he never believed he could rule others until he ruled himself. His journal wasn't a diary, it was a manual. A daily battle plan to fight distraction, vanity, anger, despair. You think stress is a modern invention? Try leading armies, burying children, and governing a civilization on the edge of collapse. Marcus did all that and still found time to write. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. There it is again. The real battlefield is internal. And it's not one with willpower alone. It's one with training. Training your perception. Training your emotional response. Training your ability to sit in discomfort, not as a victim but as a builder. A blacksmith doesn't cry when he sees sparks. He knows they mean forging is happening. So when the world presses on you hard, don't panic. Feel the heat and say, I am being forged. I am being refined. That's the Stoic shift. The stress that once made you collapse now becomes your resistance training. The pressure that once broke your spirit now becomes your sharpening stone. But to reach that level, to truly embody Stoicism, you must drop one dangerous belief, that you are owed comfort. You are not. Life doesn't owe you ease, fairness, or convenience, but it does offer you something greater. The chance to grow tougher, wiser, and more grounded than you were yesterday. You cannot always choose peace outside, but you can always plant it inside. So plant it. When the plans fall apart, plant it. When the people let you down, plant it. When the stress piles up like thunderclouds over your mind, plant it anyway. And remember this, you are not fragile. You were not built to break. You were built to withstand. Seneca taught that fire tests gold. So let the fire come. Let it burn away the noise, the ego, the need for everything to go your way. Let it burn. Because what will remain is who you truly are. Not the mask, not the fear, but the part of you that cannot be taken, your inner citadel. You don't get to that level by reading Stoic quotes. You get there by living them. When your world is spinning, you stop and anchor. When stress whispers, "This is too much," you answer, "Nothing is unbearable when met with reason." When others complain, you reflect. When others react, you respond. That is Stoicism. That is mastery. Mastery is not loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need applause. It is quiet, centered, unshakable. You don't see it in someone's victories. You see it in their posture when they lose. You hear it in their breath when plans explode. You feel it in their presence when the room is chaos and they are still. That is what Stoicism builds. And you don't need perfect conditions to get there. You just need the discipline to practice every single day, especially on the hard ones. Because that's the paradox. Stress doesn't delay your greatness. It reveals it. It brings to light who you are when comfort is gone. When the schedule collapses. When no one texts back. When the money runs low. When life says no. Again and again. The modern world will tell you, manage your stress. The Stoics would say, master yourself. Modern life says, escape. Stoicism says, endure, transform, transcend. Let me be clear, this is not about suppressing emotions. This is about choosing the right response instead of reacting to the wrong triggers. It's about seeing yourself not as a fragile flame, but as a furnace that burns away weakness and shapes power. That's how you move through life with composure, not with fake smiles. not with pretending, but with depth, with clarity, with presence. You feel the full weight of what you carry, and you carry it anyway. That is courage. That is grace under pressure. That is what separates those who wish for peace from those who create it. Because peace is not a place, it's a posture. And the people who seem unbothered by stress, they weren't born that way. They trained for it. They failed. They stumbled. They faced the same storms as you. But they didn't run. They stood still until the fear passed through. They waited until the chaos showed its illusion. They learned that most of what they feared never even happened. And in the process, they earned a rare kind of calm. Calm that isn't blind. Calm that isn't soft. A calm that is disciplined. And once you've felt that, once you've tasted the strength of not reacting, once you've chosen silence instead of spiraling, once you've looked at stress and said, "You are not my master," then no one can take that from you. Not the economy, not your boss, not your critics, not even fate, because you've seen what they can't. That real freedom is not the absence of pressure. It is the presence of inner control. And that control is built, brick by brick, moment by moment, quote by quote. Every time you return to Seneca, you strengthen it. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Every time you listen to Marcus, you deepen it. You can revoke your judgment at any moment. Every time you walk with Epictetus, you live it. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These aren't philosophies. They're foundations. And when your life is built on them, no wind can knock you over. There is a power that no storm can touch. No insult can pierce. No loss can dissolve. It is not found in riches, not in followers, not even in talent. It is found in the man or woman who stands in a world on fire and remains composed. That is the Stoic flame. It does not burn others, it burns away what is false within. And once lit, it never goes out. But make no mistake, this is not a one-time revelation. This is a daily ritual. Just like a soldier shines his armor, just like a monk returns to prayer, you return to the discipline of thought, to the mastery of mind, to the control of response. And in a world that idolizes reaction, you become rare. You don't clap back, you pause. You don't panic, you breathe. You don't spiral, you center. Because you remember, composure is your duty, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, your children, your team, your partner, your future self. They all feel the ripple of your state. So when you choose stillness, you don't just heal yourself, you lead. And that's something modern society forgot. That real leadership begins in the furnace of self-mastery. How can you lead others if you can't lead your own mind? How can you command a room if you can't command your breath? How can you inspire peace if you are chaos inside? You must go first. You must become the calm. You must live the philosophy, not just admire it. That's what Marcus did. That's what Seneca did. That's what you do now. When stress comes, and it will come, you meet it as a student and a warrior. You ask, what is this here to teach me? How can I grow from this? Where am I giving power to something I cannot control? And most importantly, what can I do right now, from a place of reason, not reaction? You don't need a new morning routine. You don't need a productivity hack. You need presence. You need principles. And Stoicism gives you both. Because it doesn't pretend life is easy. It gives you the tools to face it when it's not. Tools that you don't just carry, you become. You become the stillness in the storm. You become the breath in the chaos. You become the one who responds, never reacts. And the world will notice. They may not say it, but they will feel it. In how you speak, in how you move, in how you handle what others collapse under. That's the legacy of the Stoic. Not statues, not applause, but a presence that calms the room without a word. A power that comes from within and shines outward, not to dominate but to guide. So the next time life tightens its grip, you don't flinch. You pause. You breathe. You return to the quotes etched in your soul. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. You have the power to revoke the pain. It's not what happens, but how you respond. These are not just words. They are anchors. And in the storm of life, they are what hold you firm. Hold that image in your mind, a ship in a storm. Waves rising, lightning crashing, winds screaming like the voice of doubt itself. And there, on the deck, one figure stands, unmoved, focused, alive with silence. That's you. That's what you're becoming. Because you've stopped being the passenger. You've become the captain. You've taken the wheel not when the sea is calm, but when the world is howling. And there's something sacred about that. Something few understand. Because most people never get past the surface of stress. They never go deep enough to see its root. They think stress is caused by time, people, work, traffic. But a Stoic knows, it's not the world that creates your storm. It's the way you perceive the world. And if you can shift your perception, you can shift everything. This isn't denial. This isn't toxic positivity. This is warrior-level awareness. A recognition that no matter how loud the outside becomes, your internal state remains your sacred ground. And no one, no boss, no critic, no economy, can enter it without your permission. You are not at the mercy of the moment. You are the master of your meaning. And this is what the Stoics tried to teach us, across centuries, across empires, across languages. You are not your fear. You are not your thoughts. You are not your stress. You are the space behind it, the fire beneath it, the stillness within it. And you awaken that power each time you choose your response. That's the word that matters most now. Choose. Don't collapse. Choose. Don't react. Choose. Don't run. Choose. Choose to embody the man or woman you were born to become. The one who doesn't just read Stoic quotes, but lives them. Who doesn't just talk about resilience, but bleeds it. Who walks through storms with his chin up. Not because the storm is small, but because he is greater. Because she is anchored in something deeper. Purpose, discipline, presence, peace, and yes, power. Not the power that screams, but the kind that sits still and says, I will not be moved. You are no longer owned by stress. You are the architect of it. You mold it. You channel it. You rise above it. And when the world asks how, you answer not with words, but with who you've become. Because these 3 Stoic quotes weren't just words on a page. They were torches. They lit your path through the dark. They burned away your false beliefs. They revealed the real you, clear, composed, unshakable. You didn't just learn how to handle stress. You transcended it. And now, you walk through life not untouched by pressure, but untamed by it. You don't need calm seas. You are the calm. And no matter what the day brings, you bring something stronger. You bring you. So now, stand up. Not just from your chair, but in your spirit. Breathe in like a warrior greeting the battlefield. Exhale like a soul that knows it cannot be broken. Because this isn't just a video. It's not just a speech. It's a summons. To stop letting the world push you around. To stop believing stress has authority over your life. To stop waiting for things to get easier. And to start getting stronger. Right now, in this breath, you choose who you are. Not your past. Not your failures. Not your anxiety. You choose whether you fall back into reaction or rise forward into presence. You choose whether you let the noise in or build the walls of your inner citadel. You choose whether you live like everyone else or become the rare one, the one who leads with calm, who acts with reason, who endures with grace, and commands with stillness. The world doesn't need more panic. It needs more presence. The world doesn't need more control. It needs more self-control. The world doesn't need more speed. It needs more stillness. And that begins with you. This is your time. To master your breath. To rule your mind. To forge a soul that does not bend. Remember the words. Repeat them daily. Etch them into your spine. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. You can revoke your judgment at any moment. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Let them become your reflex in chaos. Let them harden you into composure. Let them remind you of who you truly are. And if anyone asks, how do you stay calm? How do you move forward when the pressure's too much? How do you carry it all? You smile and say, I trained for this.